What's up, Metal Brethren? Scott Tannic One coming at you again live from the dungeon with part 2 of 3 of the Glenn Danzig artist review. Now, before we get into that, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is my favorite part of the 3 phase of Glenn Danzig's career. It's Samhain, or as it's properly pronounced in Old Celtic, Samhain, which is the holiday or festival that is the basis of the American Halloween. Anyway, started off in 1983, right after Glenn departed the Misfits. The lineup at that time was Glenn Danzig, of course, on vocals, Eerie Von on bass, Steve Zing doing drums, and a relatively unknown guitarist named Lyle Presler that was on the first Samhain offering, which was Initium. Now, before we get into Initium, I want to say another thing about Samhain in particular is that there's at least one track of Misfits stuff that was carried over into Samhain and made a little more darker, being the fact that Samhain was a much darker band with a lot of occultism and paganism that was really hinted on in the Samhain catalog. And on Initium, they did a rendition of Horror Business, which is not my favorite rendition of Misfits stuff carried over to Samhain. It just sounded really... I just really didn't dig the vibe of Horror Business. I thought the Misfits version was way better, way superior. But that being said, let's get into this original Samhain tracks off this one that I think are amazing, which is the kind of band title track called Samhain. It's just great. It's like a big nod to everything paganism about the festival of Samhain. Another one that I really like a lot is Black Dream. It's pretty much the second track on the Initium album. Really great stuff. He Who Cannot Be Named is another great track. Then we get into The Shift and The Howl, which I think are the standouts on this album in particular. And then you get Horror Business, which is okay. And then Archangel, which is the lengthiest Samhain track of the entire catalog of Samhain. And it's pretty decent. Definitely a song about, Lucifer falling from the heavens and being, an archangel. Pretty good stuff. And then you get into a kind of a lineup change with the next offering by Samhain, which was the Unholy Passion EP. You still had Glenn and Eerie. Steve Zing was still present in the band, but they got a new guitar player named Pete Damian Marshall that kind of stuck for the rest of the very, very short-lived time that Samhain was around. Again, on the Unholy Passion EP, there was another Misfits carryover, and that was All Hell, or All Hell Breaks Loose, as it was known in the Misfits catalog. And All Hell on the EP here on Unholy Passion is just way superior to the version of the song that came out on Walk Among Us by the Misfits. I love All Hell on the Unholy Passion EP. I think every track on this is solid except Misery Tomb. Misery Tomb is kind of stupid. It's just Glenn doing a bunch of howls with some ambient music. Skip it. Stand out, my favorite on this is probably The Hungry End. The Hungry End is just a beast of a song, but yet it still had the vein of the punk rock image going on, which it was much darker with Samhain, but yet still musically it still had like a punk vibe. And then we get into the third offering by Samhain, which is November Coming Fire, which is one of my favorite Glenn Danzig albums, period. I mean, in all 3 incarnations of Glenn Danzig's career, November Coming Fire is probably my favorite thing he's offered, besides Danzig 2 Lucifuge, which we'll get into in the Danzig portion of this. But every track on November Coming Fire is just amazing. It's much darker. You can see the direction towards metal, and there's a lineup change on this as well. You got Glenn Danzig, of course. Eerie Von is still a staple. Pete Damian Marshall is still in the band, but the thing that's unique about the lineup change on Samhain 3 was the addition of London May, who was a great drummer and was actually a huge fan of the band. If you ever got the box set of Samhain's box set, it's got a video that's included, and it's basically all shot by London May for the first part of it, just as a fan. He pretty much went from, there's even I'm going to quote the liner notes from the box set, that London May went from the mosh pit to the drum kit in a matter of years. He went from being a huge fan of this band to actually being part of the band, and I think that's really fucking cool. Back to the nature at hand, though, here with November Coming Fire. I mean, there's not a stinker on November Coming Fire. The opener instrumental, Diablos 88, is just, I think, one of the best instrumental openers in any heavy metal hard rock album. There is a version of Halloween Part 2 on November Coming Fire that's, a Misfits carryover that I think is just some of the best Glenn's voice has ever sounded. Standout tracks for me, like my personal favorite is To Walk the Night, which is another kind of eerie, just dark song with Glenn's voice is just great. In My Grip, another standout track. Mother of Mercy has appeared on, in a video game, Guitar Hero Metallica. Human Pony Girl, Kiss of Steel, the title track, November Coming Fire. Another great one is Let the Day Begin. I know I'm probably going to be listing the entire track listing on November Coming Fire, but it's because it's one of my favorite Glenn Danzig albums, period. One of my favorite albums of all time. And then you get into the departure of Samhain. It just kind of fell off. He was approached by Rick Rubin, and Rick Rubin formed Danzig. But to stay in the Samhain portion of this video, we're going to talk about Final Descent. And Final Descent come 2 years after the first Danzig album. It came in 1990, right before Lucifuge came out, and it was just a mixture of some of the scrap tapes of some of the Samhain stuff, and it featured the actual Danzig lineup. It featured Glenn, Erie, John Christ, and Chuck Biscuits, which I think is a phenomenal drummer who's very unsung in the entire metal community. I believe he was in, I can't remember which band he was in. I think it was, I'm not even going to try to remember it because I can't remember it right now. But anyway, that came out 1990, right after, they released the first Danzig album, and it had some really standout tracks. It had a Samhain version of 2 tracks that appeared on the first Danzig album, which were Twist of Cain and Possession. No Misfits cover bring over on this one. It was pretty much just straight Samhain, and then some of the Danzig stuff that would come later. And Lords of the Left Hand is another great track. Night Chill was another ambient little music intro to the album that was great. My personal favorite off this one is Death in Its Arms. I think it's awesome. This is the first appearance of one of the first Elvis covers that Glenn Danzig was on this one, and it was Trouble. I mean, he tweaks the lyrics a little bit to make it more dark and evil, but there's still Elvis principal songwriting on it. That being said, I just kind of ran through the Samhain catalog there for you, but me personally, I think this is definitely the best part of Glenn Danzig's career, and it was so short-lived that it's very criminal. I think it was an injustice to... I celebrate Rick Rubin, but yet I curse his name for coming in and destroying this band. He didn't really destroy the band, but he brought them to the next level. But anyway, what do you think? What are your thoughts on Samhain? Have you even heard of this band? Not a lot of people have. Some of you have, especially Danzig fanboys, which I clearly am. Let me know down in the comments what you think. I'm going to go ahead and rate Samhain right now, and you're probably going to guess it. 5 out of 5 for Samhain. I just love this band. Can't wait for another reunion. Another reunion. They do a lot of reunions with Samhain. Yeah. What's your comments? What's your thoughts? Subscribe. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think. Later on, Metal Brethren, coming at you here again real soon with part 3, Danzig's solo project. Take it easy, Metal Brethren.